girl. I started with Bitcoin in 2017, but I didn't really earnestly start buying Bitcoin until 2019. So I probably missed the boat. What is interesting to me about Bitcoin? Well, there's two camps of people when it comes to Bitcoin, and I think most people start off in one camp. That's true of me as well. And this is what I call the pump and dump camp. Like, why would you believe in this imaginary internet money if you have nothing to gain from it? And a lot of people are like, oh yeah, Bitcoin is just, it's called the greater fool theory. So whoever is earlier will get the money, and whoever is later will become the fool. So that's pretty much how I started with Bitcoin. I'm like, oh yeah, if I just get in early and make a ton of money and get out, then life's good. But the problem with, I actually brought my notes this time. The problem with pump and dump is that it leads you back into the traditional finance system. Like, when you pump and dump, you gotta dump it into something, right? And typically, at least for me, that means the US financial system. So you can like get lucky and make a ton of money, but if you dump it, then you eventually put your money back into the bank, back into US dollars. But that's not the interesting part about Bitcoin. If you're only into pump and dump, you can quite literally pump and dump anything, right? Like penny stocks, meme coins. What I think is most interesting about Bitcoin is this idea that there is an alternative financial system. You can think of Bitcoin as an insurance policy. What are you insuring against? You're insuring against the collapse of the financial system. Yeah, let's be real. Like, in a real world scenario where the government is good actor and everybody is doing good for the good of the people, that's not really a reason for Bitcoin to exist. Because if democracy and equality is all that the United States stands for, then US dollars are great. US dollars is freedom money. You come to the US, you hold US dollars, you have earned your freedom. But when that system fails, what do? I think it's a bit crazy to think that's even possible. And I agree. And that's why, like, I personally, I'm not holding all my money in Bitcoin, because that kind of implies that I have lost all faith in US dollars. I've lost all faith in the financial system. When it comes to whether or not the financial system is going to collapse, it's not something you as an individual can really control. What you can control is small actions you can take in your financial life to mitigate against that risk. The way I look at money is a lot like managing your health. Like, as we grow older, there's a greater chance of us developing cardiovascular issues. That's not like, oh, if we just go running for a day or doing some cardio exercise, that we're immune. It's something that it's a small action that you kind of have to take over and over again. You have to revisit that decision in order to prevent losses in the long run, or prevent health problems in the long run. And it's a lot like that with Bitcoin, right? Like, I don't think there's a go or no go decision. I don't think one day decide, oh, Bitcoin is the holy grail and it's going to save the world. It's more of a day-to-day decision. As your belief in the existing financial system erodes, Bitcoin should go up. If everything is going well and there's a lot of freedom and access and a lot of good things happening in the economy, then perhaps you don't need so much Bitcoin. You can trust in your government's money. To put it bluntly, I don't think I actually want Bitcoin to succeed. Because if Bitcoin is truly taking off, that means something seriously fucked up happened in the world. But risk management is exactly that, right? I don't think it's clear to anybody when your system is broken beyond repair. So the price of Bitcoin, I see it as a reflection of that reality. And that reality is messy. Nobody really knows where we're at. Nobody really knows what's going on. Even the experts of Bitcoin don't fully know what they're talking about. And I think I can see that being the case for the foreseeable future. So the price of Bitcoin is going to be going up and down for a very long time. holding Bitcoin is just a way of protecting your assets. It's an insurance policy. It's an insurance policy against chaos. Speaking of that, when I say holding Bitcoin, I really don't mean buying Bitcoin ETFs. I truly believe that you have to hold Bitcoin, right? Like physically hold it, if that analogy works better. But essentially what this is a private key. So I use BitKey, but there's also other instruments like Ledger, just a whole other camp of companies out there that make these hardware that can hold your Bitcoin offline. This is real Bitcoin because it doesn't go through the existing financial system. Because yeah, as I said, right, like the Bitcoin is to insure against the possibility that the existing system collapses. I guess I also want to answer a question here. Why Bitcoin? Why not Trump coin, or why not Dogecoin? There are some fundamental technical differences that I don't want to get into. The bigger point is just that when you're holding these other coins, you have the pump and dump mindset, right? Like if you hold these other coins and all you're really trying to do is to convert them back into US dollars at their highest point, then these meme coins are not any different than other kind of gambling instruments where the purpose is not so that you can insure against a catastrophic future, and it's more about making a quick buck and putting it back into something more secure. And in this case, perhaps that is US dollars. I mean, like if you pump and dump and put it back into Bitcoin and you hold Bitcoin, I think that puts you into a different category of people. There's another point to be made about diversification. A lot of what I'm saying is to diversify your assets. And you might be thinking, why not diversify in real estate or bonds or even foreign stocks, right? Like that's kind of like protecting yourself against the collapse of the US. But fundamentally, all of these things, like real estate, has to be probably somewhere in the United States, and even foreign stocks, right? You probably have to buy foreign stocks through US brokerages, which defeats the whole purpose if the US brokerage system collapses. And okay, yeah, like I'm really not a doomsday person. I don't want the US system to collapse. I'm just saying that if it does, I feel like Bitcoin is special. It's called freedom money because it is portable. It has the ability to move very fast, fairly fast. It's freedom money because it has the ability to move, right? Like I can literally take this back to Canada and I don't even need the hardware. I can just remember the private key in my head and I walk across to Canada and I would have my money. There's no need for wire transfers. There's no need to go through banks. Your money goes with you wherever your physical body goes. You have the freedom to move. And perhaps that doesn't make a lot of sense to people. But why would you leave the United States, right? That's a great question. I don't think most people want to leave the United States unless perhaps something very bad is happening. And I don't know if that's happening or not. Perhaps it is. But moving is a lot less scarier when you know that your money is coming with you. I've moved several times in my lifetime, right? Like I've literally moved from China to Canada to the United States. And I'm not opposed to moving again. If I do move again, I'll have my Bitcoin with me. That is about all I know about Bitcoin. I mean, there's a lot of technical stuff that perhaps that you would want to educate yourself on. You always want to do your own research, right? Don't just trust what I say, because I'm just a random guy on the internet. But this needs watering. But Bitcoin is something that changes with the current times, changes with the seasons. Sometimes it needs a bit more love, and other times it can be safely ignored. So yeah, just my 2 cents on what I think Bitcoin is about, and maybe it will help you in your decision-making process. Alright, that is all for today.